I think there's a problem in the horror movie genre that is unique to horror movies, or at least I rarely run into it with other types of films. It's the problem of having the content of a short film with the runtime of a feature. And I think with horror movies, so much relies on the premise that sometimes it creates a problem for enough story or character beats to get through a feature length film in an interesting way. Now, this also contributes to the third act problem that I think a lot of horror movies fall into, where the third act becomes a hodgepodge of random ideas and cliches and changes everything leading up to it because they don't know how to finish the setup of the premise, since that was the main focus and the hook. Now, this movie has a similar problem. It's not boring. It is shot in a way that is compelling enough, but it does feel very light. And by the time you get to the final part of the movie, it feels like it ran out of ideas. New Life is a 2023 movie about a woman on the run after escaping from a secure facility with a shadowy agency chasing her. The movie centers around two characters for the most part, Jessica, who is on the run, and Elsa, who is chasing her. It kicks off with Jessica already on the run and Elsa is being hired to find her. Now, very little is actually known about Jessica other than that she escaped, and we get very few flashbacks in the beginning to know what is actually happening. So for a while, it's just Jessica on the run sequences. Eventually, we learn that she escaped from some kind of secure facility, but that's kind of about it. The movie then mostly splits its time between the two storylines, Jess on the run and Elsa in pursuit. Now, Elsa is the head of some shadowy organization who is trying to track Jessica. This is where some of the seams of the low budget kind of show. They set up this group of hackers who are supposed to be tracking her every move, and it kind of felt like they wanted to be like enemy of the state kind of thing. But everybody, with the exception of the one main guy that Elsa talks to, is just background extras. So it feels like a little wasted energy to have the people in the background. I think if they only wanted the one guy, they could have kept it that small and still be effective. In Enemy of the State, for instance, it was only really two people. Instead, with this, it feels like a bunch of noise, and it actually makes it look less rather than more, if that makes any sense. Anyway, Jessica goes from place to place, meeting people on the way that help her or not help her, and the story here takes a long time to uncoil as to what her backstory actually is. Now, this is done for good reason, but it's part of the ultimate issue I had with the film. Other than knowing that she is on the run, you learn so little about her. Now, that and the fact that she lies to everyone about everything for fear of her safety, you never really understand who she is or what is real. And that ends up being a problem at the end of the movie when we start dealing with motivations. Meanwhile, in between trying to track down Jessica, Elsa is dealing with the diagnosis of ALS that she received 6 months ago, and her body is slowly failing her. She takes pills, she talks with caregivers and patients, and she deals with her degrading limbs. Now, as a character detail, it's a good one. Highlights her life choices, what led her to there. It also colors her perspective on her job and why she does it. The problem, though, is it doesn't really end up amounting to anything. Other than some physical obstacles she has to deal with, if that entire subplot was left off the film, the outcome wouldn't really have been any different. In which case, after it's all wrapped up, I wondered, well, why would we spend so much time on that subplot in the first place? Now I'm all about character depth and fleshing out characters and people, but when it doesn't seem to go anywhere, it starts to feel like padding. And to be fair, it's not uninteresting or boring, it just feels like an extra. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about spoilers here because I want to discuss Jessica a bit, and I can't do that without spoiling it. So skip ahead for the summation if you don't want to hear it. Now ultimately, I kind of alluded to earlier that I didn't understand Jessica's motivations in the movie. It's a problem of how we see this character. What we end up finding out is that she is a carrier of a type of zombie-spreading virus, and Elsa is tasked with containing her and anyone that she comes in contact with. So suddenly deep into the film, who is good and who is bad kind of switches, which is totally fine and kind of clever. The problem is we still don't know much about Jessica as a person. For most of the movie, she doesn't realize this is the case, And so she's innocently, accidentally killing these people that she comes in contact with without knowing it. And because she lies constantly for fear of being captured, we never really know what's real for her. So when she finally does find out the truth, and it is an unmistakable truth, she continues to want to run, knowing full well that she will kill every person that she comes in contact with. Now, as we've followed her the entire time, we certainly don't get the sense that she was a bad person. Like, she tries to free her boyfriend when he's sick as opposed to just escaping, which is the opposite of selfish behavior. Also, we've seen her being nice. But when she's confronted with the fact that her getting away will kill everyone on the planet, she elects to be the most selfish person, even being aggressive to Elsa, who is trying to help her. The only reason that we really get out of her is that she wants to quote-unquote see the world, which was really just an offhand comment she made back at a bar that she stayed at.
I want to see the world.
But once again, she lied so much to cover her tracks, there wasn't really any reason to think that she was telling the truth in that moment. I mean, she also says that her boyfriend beat her up and that she was on the run from him, which was totally not true.
I just want to see the world.
I mean, if her entire motivation was her wanting to see the world, and she'd always wanted to travel and do things but never quite could, and with her now dying, it was her last chance, this should have been laced throughout the movie thematically. If we're to believe that motivation, then the other statement she says about growing up in a small town and moving to the city recently and not seeing anything should have been more apparent on her journey. I mean, she does seem to have pretty good hiking and survival skills, but she also doesn't seem to be fazed by cities. There should have been some scenes where this is shown. Like, for instance, early on she finds the ring that her boyfriend was going to propose to her with. I mean, maybe she turns down the proposal because he's all about settling down and starting a family. Or maybe she constantly struggles with committing to a job because she always has her head in other places thinking about traveling. I don't know. They could have done a bunch of things. But instead they seem to really want to go all in on the big reveal and subversion of sorts of who is in the right. And kept Jessica's character in the dark for so long that it hurts the movie at the end because I don't get who that character actually is. Meaning I can't feel for her when she is making choices because they feel arbitrary versus extensions of her character. Anyway, to wrap it all up, I know I've focused a lot on what the problems are, but to be fair, this movie is really well done in that it looks good, has some excellent special effects and blood work, and the production design was excellent, minus the hacker group, which felt bigger than it needed to be. The performances are all dynamic and effective, and in general, it was a very interesting take on this type of a story. However, checking in at just 85 minutes, though, I would have thought it would have been a razor-sharp tight film, but instead it felt like it was stretched to 85 minutes. And that's an important distinction. I mean, one of the things I love in movies is when I totally understand everyone's motivation across the board, and each one makes 100% sense from their own perspective, but yet they all can't be allowed to achieve those things for different reasons. It's that type of conflict that makes compelling drama. Now, this one had the pieces, but it couldn't quite stick it all together. I'd give this a B-, but let me know what you think.